History records facts, but it does not always deliver closure. Some stories end with verdicts, timelines, and official statements. Others end with silence and a trail of unanswered questions. This is one of those stories. It unfolds at the intersection of wealth, access, and accountability, where influence moves quietly and consequences do not always arrive on schedule. What follows is not speculation. It is a reconstruction drawn from court records, journalism, and public testimony, not to declare guilt beyond the law, but to examine how power operates when scrutiny arrives too late. Because sometimes, even after death, a name refuses to disappear.
A name can survive death. Some names fade quietly into archives and history books. Others refuse to disappear. They resurface in headlines, in courtrooms, in conversations, and in questions that refuse to settle. In modern America and across much of the Western world, few names continue to echo like that of Jeffrey Edward Epstein. Years have passed since he died inside a federal detention center in New York City. Authorities ruled his death a suicide. Officially, the criminal case against him ended there. But the public conversation did not. Because this was never only about one man. It was about power, about influence, about systems designed to enforce justice, and whether those systems function equally for everyone. Jeffrey Epstein was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York. By most accounts, his upbringing was ordinary. There were no public indicators that his name would one day become synonymous with scandal. He attended public schools and later enrolled in college, but did not complete a degree. Despite that, he secured a teaching position at an elite private school in Manhattan. The role was unusual given his academic record, but it marked his first entry into circles of wealth and influence. From there, he transitioned into finance. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, Epstein began cultivating relationships with wealthy individuals. He presented himself as a financial manager, specializing in high-net-worth clients. Unlike many financiers, he did not build a large public company. His business dealings were private, selective, often opaque. Over time, his wealth grew substantially. By the late 1990s, Epstein owned multiple high-value properties: a Manhattan townhouse, estates in Palm Beach in New Mexico, an apartment in Paris, a private island in the Caribbean. He traveled by private jet. He hosted exclusive gatherings. But wealth alone does not create influence. Access does. Epstein positioned himself within elite networks: politicians, academics, celebrities, business leaders. He donated to universities. He cultivated relationships with scientists and intellectuals. He appeared at high-profile events and social functions. Photographs later circulated showing him alongside globally recognized figures. It is important to clarify, appearing in a photograph or attending an event does not imply criminal wrongdoing. Many individuals encountered him in professional or social contexts without knowledge of the allegations that would later surface. Still, the breadth of his connections raised questions once his legal troubles became public. In the early 2000s, allegations emerged in Florida involving underage girls. Local law enforcement initiated an investigation. The case developed over time and drew federal attention. In 2008, Epstein entered a controversial plea agreement with federal prosecutors in Florida. He pled guilty to state charges related to solicitation and procurement. As part of the agreement, he served approximately 13 months in a county jail facility with work release privileges. The plea agreement also included provisions that limited federal prosecution at that time. Years later, that agreement would face intense criticism. Legal analysts and victims advocates questioned whether the deal was unusually lenient. Concerns were raised about transparency and about whether victims had been adequately informed. At the time, however, the case faded from national headlines. Epstein returned to private life. For nearly a decade, his name did not dominate the news cycle. Then, investigative journalists revisited the case. In the late 1910s, new reporting examined the 2008 plea agreement and the circumstances surrounding it. The renewed scrutiny sparked public debate and increased pressure on federal authorities. In July 2019, federal prosecutors in New York arrested Jeffrey Epstein. He was charged with sex trafficking of minors. The indictment described allegations spanning multiple years and involving numerous victims. Epstein pled not guilty. A trial was scheduled. The case drew global attention, but the trial never happened. On August 10, 2019, Epstein was found unresponsive in his cell at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. He was pronounced dead shortly afterward. Authorities ruled his death a suicide by hanging. Subsequent investigations cited serious procedural failures at the facility. Despite official findings, public skepticism spread rapidly. With Epstein's death, criminal proceedings against him ended. In 2020, longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. In 2021, following a federal trial, she was convicted on multiple counts related to the recruitment and exploitation of minors. Her conviction represented a significant legal outcome connected to the broader case. Civil lawsuits continue in related matters. The Epstein case became symbolic of a larger concern: institutional accountability. How did early warning signs fail to produce stronger consequences? Did influence delay accountability? How can institutions rebuild trust once doubt has taken root? Jeffrey Epstein left no celebrated monument, no honored legacy. Instead, his name has become shorthand for an uneasy intersection of money, influence, and justice. The criminal case ended with his death, but the broader conversation continues. A name can survive death. The man is gone. The questions remain.